Good morning. Last night we did a message on 1 John. We're in 1 John 3 about loving one another. And I use the example of Jean Valjean out of Les Mis, and about his life, about how he was born a peasant and his parents were killed early on. And he and his sister had 7 children, so he had to work just day by day for food. And it got so bad at one time he stole some bread and got caught. And then they sent him to jail, and he ended up spending 2 decades in jail. And he went in with a soft heart, and he left a hardened man. And he, what happened is they just set him free with nothing. So he was drifting, and he ended up at this inn, and he knocked on the door, and this little man opened the door, and it was a bishop. And at that time, if you were a convict, you had to show someone, you had to show this card that let them know that you were a convict. And so what happened out of that was he showed him his card and said, I've got nowhere to sleep. He has a speech, but I can't do it. And the bishop turned around and said, set another place at the table. And he was like overwhelmed by that, saying, don't you know that I'm a convict? I could be a murderer, and you're inviting me into your house. But that's the grace of God. That's the love of God that comes into our life when we're hardened, that changes us from the inside out. It's the love of God that compels change. And he ends up, that night, he ends up going back down. He let him stay in his house to prepare a room for him. And he went and stole all the silver. And he got caught the next day, Jean Valjean. They brought him back to the bishop, and they said, we just wanted to let you know that we caught him stealing all your stuff. And he said, he acted like he was mad at Jean Valjean, and he said, you forgot the 2 greatest pieces, which are the 2 silver candlesticks. Put them in his bag and sent the police off. And at that point, he was just overwhelmed by the grace and love and mercy of this man. And it was a picture of how God is with us, that he meets us in our darkest place. And he loves us unconditionally when we don't deserve it. And that love is the thing that compels us to change the direction of our life, and the freedom and the joy and the peace that comes from grace. Grace is the most beautiful thing out there, and that's the thing that changed my life. And I pray today that you can experience that grace. Christianity really isn't about, blessing of good people and bad people. We're all bad by nature. We're all separated from God by the fall, but then it says, blessed are those who know that they're spiritually poor, when they know that they need God. And then we can be reunited with the one who created us, and we can submit our lives to him and find peace and joy and contentment again, like I never had before. I pray that you find that peace today. God bless y'all.